Okay, Tim. So with that little preamble in
Yes.
the interview of creating more pressure so that you are getting slammed into a tiny little corridor, what's your question?
Well, I'm really interested to know if the I see. I already know the answer to it. You did such a good job in the interview. What
Oh, thank you. So
you did such a good job.
that's what we call a deflection, just by the way. So for anyone not sure, so he's shifting focus back onto me, but we want to keep the focus on you. So the thing is, what we've done is in our interview, I've set you up. Okay, so what I've done is I've overly, like, over a number of like things, I've created more and more pressure for you to get the perfect question. I've given you many reasons why if you ask a question that's not like out of this world, you're wasting our time. And so the thing is, my question to you would be, when's a good time to activate? Okay, that was a rhetorical one. What I was hoping you'd do is go, holy shit, this is exactly what we were speaking about the other day. Now is the perfect time to activate, to bring myself back into myself, because I have been hacked, I have been disrupted, Doug has put fear and doubt and hesitation and all of that into me, evil mother trucker that he is. And what's a good time to activate? Hell, right now. Sweet. So 3, keep your fingers up there. So 3, 2, and 1. What's your question? What pops up? Whatever it is, go with it. Don't judge it.
Where do you think BeActivated is limited?
Ooh, you see, that's a good question. I think that the limitation is me, because the fear, the doubt, the hesitation, the what if this is all bullshit? What if I'm just a good con man? What if? How is it even possible? So that means that when I can step outside of myself, I can bring all of the clarity and all of the expanded nature of the work. But sometimes when I withdraw to my space and I sit and I look back at what's happened, and sometimes, like, I'll be telling someone who wasn't there about what happened, and I can see them going, nice. Would you like a drink, whatever. And because even describing what happens in these processes sounds impossible, ridiculous, and I feel that too a lot of the time. I'm a huge amount better at it. But the thing is that, so why, what's happening right now, and you're part of this process, is in my world, I'm activating, expanding, meeting resistance, learning about the resistance, activating, expanding, meeting the resistance. And so a lot of people that I've chatted to have turned to me and said, that this lockdown in 2020 has been the most amazing thing for you, Doug. And I'm going, what? No, I'm not. It's amazing because this is the stuff you should have been doing 5 years ago. This is the stuff that you need. You need to increase your reach. You need to increase your leverage of the message, because everybody should know this. And what's really important in that statement is not everybody should believe this. They don't have to, but if you don't know something exists, then you don't know it exists. It becomes part of what you don't know that you don't know. And the goal of the work in like working with your physiology is to help you find the stuff that you didn't know, and at least bring it into what you know that you don't know. If I know that I don't know something, now I can go and learn it, and I can turn it into what I know that I know. And so in this expanding, I'm hitting up against my own resistance, my own smallness, my own inadequacies, my own shame, guilt, remorse, lack of worthiness, all of that stuff. That if I stayed in this place, they'd never show themselves. It was comfortable, safe. So the limitation, the big beautiful thing is that imagine, like, I'm going to be David Attenborough. What a great privilege. So what made David, not made, it makes David Attenborough an amazing commentator on what he sees, is he literally tells you what he observes. That's what I do. I tell you what I've seen in the body. I tell you, like, the breathing and hip flexion, it's very clever. But it's the body system. It's not my system. I'm telling you about it. I'm giving you the narrative so that people can understand it. But if nobody's observed it, then nobody would know to do anything with it. So it's an observation. It's an observation that, I remember somebody buying the DVD sets from France probably 10, 11 years ago. And when he got it and he watched it and he emailed me back and he started French, kind of, there is nothing in your system that I've not seen before. And I'm like, oh, and he goes, but I really want to tell you how amazing it is. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not French. I don't understand this way of communication. And he says, I understand, I've seen every one of your techniques somewhere, but never the sequence. And the sequence has totally changed the way I work. Awesome. And so the sequence was an observation that I've described. It's kind of like interviewing the body, observing the body. And so when someone goes, can I just go from here to there? The answer is, well, you could. But you know what? It's not in the body's design. It's not in the way the body created itself to be and to, and so it's that observation. And so it's the goal of the game is why doesn't everybody know about this? They can know about it and disagree. That's fine. But if you don't know about it, then what? And then that responsibility falls back on me. And since you're with me, that falls back on you. How awesome is this? 3 months in and the world is holding you accountable for the lack of the message getting out there. That's fabulous. But the idea is, it's like you look back at the different questions people have asked. Carl said, why doesn't every professional know about this? He also didn't say, why doesn't every professional believe in this? They don't need to believe. We're not asking you to believe. We're asking you to know, to have it as an option and a possibility, because when you're coming up against a brick wall with what you do know and it's not working, have you thought of this? And you could take, let's say, the same technique that you're doing there, applied in a different way that serves the body, that gives the body what it's looking for, and everything changes. Why not? So the goal is to get the information out there, to have the conversation that literally people can sit around a braai, which is like a barbecue, but it's a braai in South Africa, and they can be going, hey, what do you think of this activation stuff? Oh, I think it's a load of rubbish because da 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 da. And someone go, well, actually, I think it's amazing because this is what I felt. Awesome, great conversation. But if someone goes, oh, it's just rubbish, why do you think? Well, I read it on social media that someone said it's rubbish. Well, that's not a good enough reason. Have you tried it? Do you know it? Have you experienced it? And if you've had all of those things and you still go, you know what, this isn't right for me, sweet. We hope that you find what you're looking for, because we don't need to be the answer for everybody. What we do want, though, and I'm getting clear on this as I say this, what we do want is that everybody knows it exists. The possibility exists, so that you can't, at the end of the day, say, well, I didn't know. Nobody told me this was there. because, you know, and I think too often people live in their corridors, and that's what they do, you know, because you get the fight and you get the flight, but the freeze is, it's nothing I can do. But if someone has given you information and shown it to you, and you've read it, felt it, experienced it, and gone, you know what, not for me. Awesome, bless you. So yeah, I suppose so. The limiting factor is that the message is not out there clear enough. This is the message. It's not a competition about, you know, more. You know, it's actually just about everyone knowing this possibility exists, because just that
Yeah.
changes the game.
Well, and also think that, you know, I don't know how many times you and I have gotten on phone calls and I talk about how amazing the community page is on Facebook with, I don't know, 3,000 or some odd uh, folks, whether they be clients or practitioners, people that want to get engaged. The amount of new information that is available because of the practitioners are putting it out on there is what makes it so it makes it a growing and innovative type product. Okay. And and that's the one thing that, you know, we've been trying to figure out, if it's limited by the amount of people who know it and the amount of people who don't know it, then is it a responsibility for the community? Because I think that there's, you know, just in society in general, there's folks that want to have something and hold on to it, and then there's a group that is open and willing to sharing it, not worried about whether they're going to lose something or be the master of the information. You know, my school of thought is, you know, share, because you're going to get more in return. If you're open, just like activation, if you're open to the activation, you will
So
get
I'm
more
going to
benefit
interrupt you a
from it.
little bit here, because I want the big part in this is that if you are feeling really strong, connected, and expanded in yourself, the idea of sharing ideas comes a lot easier than when your system is imploding, surviving, so fight, flight, or freeze. And the thing is that, you know, the current environment in the world right now has upped the pressure for everybody. So people who a year ago would not have fallen into a scarcity mindset very easily suddenly find themselves in
Yeah,
scarcity mindsets. And when we're seeing it around in our environment, a lot, and I'm seeing it a lot with people that I'm talking to, and this is why I keep harping on about, if you're not okay, just say you're not okay. It's all right. Um, but so the scarcity means I've got that one thing that can keep me safe. I've got that one thing that can take care of my family, and there's so much pressure that if I share it, what happens if that then limits my ability to take, you know,
yeah.
like Maslow's hierarchy of need.
Totally and it's completely understandable,
Yeah.
right? Because we've all been there in some aspect.
And so the aspect, but I think that, and this is why we're doing interviews like this, because somebody always has to go first. You know, everyone workshops, we always talk about that. Somebody has to go first. Now, that doesn't mean the first person who comes up, but it's the first person who, under Doug's thumb, goes, motherfucker, and swears. And everyone goes, wow, is that allowed? Of course it's allowed. Or they cry, or they break down, and suddenly there's a level of permission. And the thing is that, you know, the very first time I was in the States, which was about 2006, I was somewhere in Colorado doing stuff with PT on the net. And I shared some stuff, and a whole lot of the guys, teachers, amazing guys from like the gurus, a whole lot of them were like, Doug, you give your stuff away too easily, too freely. Are you mad? Somebody will steal it. And I was like, but isn't that the point? And that's when you get that hesitation, because you go, but that's the point, isn't it? Well, but then they steal it and then you get nothing. Oh my God. And you know, total honesty here is my first manual that I wrote and held on to for a very long time was really shit, because times I was coached by one of those folk to say, your manual, if somebody reads it, they can't grasp the concept you're sharing, otherwise they will steal it. I was like, okay, I'll make sure that does. What do you think about this? Yep, that's exactly how it must be. It's confusing as hell. Maybe if you come on the workshop, you'll understand it more. The answer is no, it was still confusing as hell. And so rewriting it with Carl so that Carl could teach was really a huge part of realizing that I'd bought into some of the fear and the doubt and playing small and holding on tight myself. And kind of, Gary Gray, 2007, I think it would have been, back in Colorado, and he was launching the GIFT program, the Gray Institute of Functional Training. And he opened, here there are about 60 or 70 of us, again, all the top teachers, and he's opening and sharing, he's running the weekend. And he said, we're launching this new program, it's called GIFT. And the mission statement of GIFT is that we want you to steal the work. We want to teach you so well that when you steal the work, you steal it really well. And I'm like, whoa, I love this man. And everyone else is like, oh, geez, this is uncomfortable. Do you think there's a camera? Are we being filmed? And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because he said the simple reality is, if he and his team do it their way only, maybe they reach 1% of the US before he dies. He said, if I teach you so well that you steal well, maybe by the time I die, we've reached 2%.
Yeah, but even think about the opportunity. Like if you hold on, one person can drive one car at a time. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if you hold on to this car, okay, you can't drive the new one, right? Because you're holding on to this one. So why don't we let someone else drive this one? Well, here's how to use it. Here's how it works. I have to go and get my new car. So it creates an opportunity for innovation, creates an opportunity for creation, and it creates an opportunity for new ideas and new concepts to advance. And I guess my whole point with it was, with the community the size of yours on Facebook, in my opinion, is enough to spread the word to the world. It absolutely is. And it's, as a community, our own fears and limitations and hesitations that's preventing it. Okay. So if we know that we could spread everything we know now, and it frees us up opportunities for us to get better and improve and innovate and create and come up with new concepts and ideas and ways to make this better, then that's how it spreads, virally. That's how things go viral, right? So I'd love to get some feedback on why it's a good idea or why it's a bad idea, or what's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's what I've really appreciated in the last 3 months, is that, how the conversations have shifted, and the fact that we're doing an interview is because of a conversation you and I had last week, and I was like, dude, that was awesome. That's where you came up with your great question that you didn't quite get right today, but when's a good time to activate? But because why I said that was a great question is because that opens up conversations, that, and so that's why we will have that as a weekly post, say, like, different image, same question, when's a good time to activate, so that we start to bring that in, and we actually, because the beautiful thing about the brain is, if you ask it a question, it goes looking for answers.
Yes.
But if you tell it something, it stops. Whoop. It might do whatever, but a question, that's why questions are so important. Good questions get the brain going looking for answers. And that's why in the middle of the night, or on the toilet, or in the shower, you suddenly go, wow, there's the answer, because that's how long it took, and it needed you to take a deep breath or a whatever, in order to allow that answer to come up. And that's why, like, throughout history, when you go and you go, look at this amazing, creative, innovative, blah, blah, blah thing that's been made, and you go, when did they come up with the idea? you'd be amazed how many great things that we have in our lives were created while sitting, or the idea popped in while sitting on the toilet or in the shower, or and you, all these, not when someone was sitting trying to find the answer, but they found the right question and
When they got
trusted
out of the
the
hallway,
brain.
yeah, when they got out of the corridor and got into the field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the thing that I'm really appreciating is, because also it's been scary. It's kind of like, it's very easy for me doing teaching. Like, it's my comfort zone. There's not a single stress in it. You know, it's the easiest. Like, if we did a brain and a heart scan on me, and it's almost like I could be feeling like absolute crap and have everything out of sync. And as I go, good morning, my system will just go zoop, because it's my comfort zone, it's my happy place. But this version of it changes things, and so it's a expanding, a resistance, a what are you going to do in that resistance? Sometimes in resistance, we retreat. But this is not the time to retreat, because there are a lot of people who, through no fault of their own, are retreating into a very small world. Their circle of influence in their world is getting smaller and smaller. And the problem is we start to believe in our limitations. We start to believe in our smallness. So even when, like, I remember after our initial lockdown, it was probably 6 weeks. And I needed to go and pick something up in Hermanus, which was an hour and a half away. And because I'm a physio, I've got papers, I could go and I could do it. And I was like, yes, I can't wait. I've been locked in my house for 6 weeks or whatever it was. And I remember getting out on the open road and going, oh my God, it's freaking scary out there. It was
Yeah,
so big and so wide. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm the guy who gets in my car at any chance to drive to open spaces because it feeds me. And suddenly those big spaces I normally love feel pretty daunting, intimidating, and that's just physiology at play. We like gas, not have gas, but like gas, where we diffuse into the spaces available to us. So if I've got a lot of space, the gas will diffuse equally throughout that. And if it's a little space, it'll do the same thing. But if you get used to that, you start to think that that's the space. And so the thing is that happens in the body, but it's physically happening to us all around the world in our environments. But our physiology is then mirroring that. And we don't have to have that. We can have an expanded physiology in a small space. It's like, as a South African, one of the things you have to do is you have to get on you go from the harbor, the waterfront, just across to Robben Island, and you go and see where Nelson Mandela was 20 years in prison, and you go into his prison cell, and you realize how small and tight it was. But what that man conjured up and what he could see and envision was immense and huge, and he was not limited by the space that he was in. And so it's quite something. You go in there and someone closes the door and you go, oh geez, this is, there's and you go, that's fine if you're there for like 5 minutes, but 20 years. And it wasn't quite 20 years that he was there, but it's that idea of the freedom, the expansion doesn't require your environment to play ball. But when your environment does open up, then you're ready for it.
That's right.
It's kind of like the kid who at college level plays amazingly, gets drafted into the NFL, goes and plays, gets so overwhelmed by this huge environment, that first game they blow out their knee and that's their career. It's like, I worked with a player like that, and I'm like, I always apologize because Ronnie somebody, Miami Dolphins, and he first in his draft and all of this, and he had an ACL tear, and it just so happened that the people I was working with that weekend felt there was a need for me to talk to Wayne Heisinger, who owned the Miami Dolphins. He put in a call. I went and I tried to explain what I did, and the guys were like, right. I said, have you got a player?
Yeah.
And they went, well, we've got this guy, Ronnie. I don't
Ronnie
know.
Brown, right?
Ronnie Brown. Ronnie Brown. That's it. I want to say
Yeah.
so Ronnie Brown.
He was a high level collegiate football player.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I think he was first
one
or
of the
second
top.
in the draft, but he tore his
Yes.
cruciate and he wasn't recovering. So he was like 6 months in, whatever. And all we like, so what I did, and this was called sharing. I said, well, the best way for me to show you what I do is, have you got a player? They went, well, we've got Ronnie. And so Ronnie and I, we chatted and we started working. And let's say we did half an hour, and then he went off to the gym to work with the strength and conditioning coaches. By the time I'd finished talking to the athletic trainers, the trainers and him had already come back going, whoa, he hasn't been able to do that even before he was injured. So it was awesome, because I knew when I left that afternoon that I was going to get a call, hey, we need you to come back. But it was in the giving, the sharing, the, hey, let me show you, this is what we do. And when I come back, I will do more of this and I will teach you, so that when I'm done, you probably don't need me. Which is, and again, a lot of people will go, well, that's really stupid, because they'll pay you a lot of money. In fact, they'll pay you a heck of a lot of money not to work with anybody else. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's just not my vision. And that's the hardest thing. It's like, what is your vision? And the vision really is how to expand this. And I realize that, like, looking back, I've done an okay job, but not an amazing job. Like, if I was like with all the tools that are available online, and they're hell, we should be saying, well, the 3 million in our small community, we're going to use them to expand to this, but we're not. And that's on me, and I'm good with that. I'm good at not good with it. I'm good at, I can own it. But we're all in a process. Like 10 years ago, I couldn't have these conversations. I wasn't there yet.
Exactly.
And we've got to expand into our resistances, find a way to get comfortable there, and then expand again.
That's right.
And sometimes the world will come and reset you and knock you out, and you've got to start again. And sweet, it's called being alive.
That's right. That's right.
So does that give you a nice...
I'm satisfied with that answer.
Woo! Satisfied. Satisfied. Really satisfied. Awesome. Well,
nice,
dude, thank you. And I think, like, I'm looking forward to always that, we have these conversations about once a week or so, and it's about figuring out what the right strategy is to bring the message and to bring the right message. It's like, I really don't want to do any bullshit that's raw and trying to be perfect and because we're not. I'm not. And so to pretend any of that would be silly. But to say, we've got some stuff that's pretty damn cool, and it may just help you. But you got to come in and take a little peek first. And if you take a peek and you go, no, thank you, sweet. There's nothing wrong with choice. Means someone can say no.
Mm-hmm.
But when they say yes, that means they step in, they're committed. And what we want is people committed to wanting to do their work, not my work, their work.
It's set up beautifully, where if they do know that, whether they think it works or not, if they knew, and then they get through all the traditional methods that work or don't, it is now an option.
Yeah.
So that would be great if everyone knew that's all you're asking for.
Yeah. The message is out there. And the interesting part is, and I'm just going to finish it off on this, is that I always remember when it started happening in South Africa. I'd probably been teaching about 2 or 3 years, and there were about 3 or 4 physiotherapists in the group that, when we checked in and said, why are you here, their comment was they were getting sick and tired of patients phoning and asking them if they do activation. And when they said they don't even know what activation is, the clients went, okay, cool, we'll find somebody who does. And so they were there on that like little curve of, not because they were early adopters or it was like, oh, this is interesting. They were there because of the pain. They were there because clients were going somewhere else because they already knew more than the therapist. And so there's always that magical place where, like, when your clients are leaving to go to someone else because they're doing a better job, as in getting better results, the clients are feeling better, doing more, whatever, you eventually have no choice but to catch up. And so for me, the exciting part as well, with people at least knowing, would be to reach that little point where we have more people coming in because of the pain of losing clients. Now, this is my evil side, but it's also, it means that we've got to reach, but we're not.
Yes.
But we had that in South Africa while I was focused there. But that would be an awesome thing in the world. Is that it's almost like you're not doing it, and or you don't even know about it, and people go, wow, you obviously don't know much if you don't at least know about this. I'm quite happy if someone says, well, actually, I don't like it because of these principles, and I don't like it because the way Doug does his hair, or sweet, all good. But for people to know about it and to know what's possible. And so if you know what's possible, what you're actually doing is you're acknowledging the kind of power and possibility that lurks inside you. Not the cleverness of us, but the power and possibility that lies inside you and inside your wife and inside your kids, inside everyone that you meet. And the thing is that right now, so many people have forgotten that this possibility exists and resides inside us. And that's all we're doing. And if we can wake that up, the world doesn't have any problems, because there will be creation and innovation and amazing people doing amazing things, and we will be inspired and we will follow. And
that's it.
Yeah. Easy peasy, lemon
you solve the world's problems right there. See, that wouldn't have happened without that shit question.
Woo! Good on you. There we go. That's very good marketing. You brought it back to, hey, you get the thumb. Okay, you can stay working with me.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Tim, awesome. Thank you, dude.
Thanks, Doug.
That was fantastic.